Good morning, I'm Morgan Donner, and today's video is a how to fix things. Today's video is a little bit unplanned and spur of the moment. I was actually thinking that today I would get started on my Janet Arnold stays stuff, but I got a surprise gift from my husband, who is very, very sweet. To give you a bit of backstory, I've been wearing this Pokemon sporty jacket thing, which I really love, but it is decidedly a little casual, maybe not the most professional look for the office. Browsing the internet for a bit, I found a faux leather jacket with a nice clean look to it. I tossed it into my wish list and then promptly forgot about it. But then Mr. Donner got it for me as a Christmas gift. It came in the mail just this morning, and I excitedly opened it up, tried it on, the way you do with new clothes, and the first arm went in great, but when I tried to get the other sleeve on, I just couldn't get my arm through. This was a surprisingly alarming experience, guys. I just could not wrap my brain around why I couldn't get the ding-ding jacket on. Eventually, I realized that the lining had been sewn in incorrectly. Whoever sewed this, they accidentally had the lining and the faux leather outer rotated either 180 or perhaps a full 360 degrees around. While the outside looks fine here, the lining is actually twisted around so that even if I do work the sleeve open here, it feels very constricting and just simply wrong around my arm. Once I had that figured out, though, I thought that this was the funniest thing. I could 100% see myself doing this exact same sewing mistake. I did briefly consider returning the jacket, but I really like it, and I thought that, this is a problem I can just fix myself. So let's get to it. So one of the cool things about taking something apart that someone else has made is that you get to see how they put it together. Maybe not 100% since I'm not taking this whole thing apart, but it is neat to see some of how a thing was made. And sometimes that can be really cool for giving you inspiration on how to finish things of your own in the future. So that's just really, really neat. And the reason that I want to kind of spend some time sitting here taking a look at this is because whenever I start undoing stitches, I want to know what exactly I'm taking apart when I do that. So the part that is questionable is here. It's the lining. This is what I need to detach. And it looks like they actually did that as a separate piece here. It does not go all the way through, which is great. That makes this whole thing so much easier than it would be if the lining and the cuff and the outside sleeve were all sewn together in one stitch at the edge. That would be so much more effort. But because it is just stitched to this little extra bit of allowance on the inner cuff here, this should be pretty easy to undo, fix, and resew. As I showed before, if I try to put my hand through the sleeve, the lining twists as I'm putting my hand through to the point where I can barely even get my hand through. With a bit of opening, I eventually can, but that lining is all twisted up and just no good. This is surprisingly difficult to turn inside out. I can't get my hand through, and it really, really does not want to flip. See, the inside, the lining is turning that way, but the seam that I'm following is going this way. That's not good. Oh, see, I can't even get my hand in. Oh, wow. No, oh, okay. Wow. Okay. This lining seam right here, which is the front of the arm, it goes over and around this way, while the inside seam goes up and then twists around this way. I don't think it's just 180 degrees. I think it might be a full 360. So the whole reason that I'm doing this is because I feel like it's a pretty easy fix. If I felt like this was going to be particularly difficult, I wouldn't bother. I would just send it back to the person that we got it from. But I think I can do this. So I'm going to take out these seams that are connecting our lining to the cuff. It is in fact a full 360-degree turn. So let's rotate this so it's correct. So I think I have it correct now, but before I do any sewing, I should verify, right? It'd be very silly if I sewed this whole thing back up. Yeah, okay. So here's that outer shoulder seam, and following it down. Yes, perfect. Okay, so this is how the sleeve is supposed to be. And suddenly, I'm able to actually lay it nice and flat. Imagine that. So I could re-sew this here by machine if I opened up the side of the arm here, did the sewing, and then redid this by hand. But you know, I might as well just do this one by hand. It's okay. It's on the inside, in the lining. No one will see my messy hand stitches. It'll be fine. I've got a few options. It really doesn't matter which one I go with. Let's go with this one. Take a bit of thread. I like to double it up when possible. So thread your needle, toss a little knot into the end, and then we'll get started. So I'm going to follow the same stitch line that's already here, and then just coming up in through the back, I'm going to go into the lining, just a little tiny stitch right on where the previous stitch line was already at. And now I'm going to come back down through that cuff fabric. See, looks like that. I'll take another little bite out of the lining and then back into the fake leather. I realize it's a little bit awkward to see me sometimes. It's surprisingly difficult to stay in frame but also be able to see what I'm doing myself. So I'm essentially taking a little stitch out of the top, then a little stitch into the bottom, little stitch into the top, little stitch into the bottom, and creating kind of a visual ladder between these two. It's not beautiful, but, well, it'll work. I mean, it's not like the original stitching was all that pretty to begin with, you know? So I'm not doing too much worse. What I've been doing so far, that little ladder stitch, does make a relatively nice semi-invisible stitch here. Or you can be a little bit lazier, a little bit faster, if you just do that stitch in one. So if you want, you could use that ladder stitch, which makes a fairly neat, kind of looks like the original stitching seam, or you could do a whip stitch, which results in some little slight dash mark type stitches, or you could do a back stitch, which involves going just slightly back of the previous stitch, down in through the leather, and then forward. So, and that also results in visible stitches on the outside, but remember, this thing is the lining, so in the end, all of this is going to be invisible. Do keep in mind that whatever you're stitching here, you don't want to go through to the outside, right? Which looks like so far I successfully have avoided that. Excellent. All right, so moment of truth time. I get to actually try it on properly for the first time, sans weird arm shenanigans. All right, well, what do you guys think? Does it work? It certainly feels a lot better now that the arm is no longer wrapped up and constricted. I think it fits pretty well. I feel like it's maybe not the most grown-up thing, but it's definitely stepping up a few years from my previous jacket. So I'm excited to wear it around and about the town, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching me do this very silly little video that was not much of a tutorial, but was something fun for me to work on. I really wanted to go ahead and just fix it right away. That way I could wear my new jacket. I hope it helps give you the confidence that when you get some clothing that is not quite right, either you ordered it online or you got it as a gift or found it in a thrift store, whatever, you found something that would be really great, except for maybe this one small thing. You know, the hem is a little bit too long, or it's just a smidge too big in the side. Things where 5 minutes of sewing would fix it up. You should do it. Go for it. Be that positive change that you want to see in the world, rather than having to send the whole thing back or to put something back on the shelf that was otherwise really perfect. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful night.